Now, bringing the first part of our interview segment on the show today, looking at banks' resilience so far and the allocations to banks, especially as we've seen the ban of foreign exchange to broader exchange operators now in its continued efforts aimed at strengthening the foreign exchange market. The Central Bank of Nigeria enhanced foreign exchange allocations to banks in order to satisfy the needs of consumers, particularly travelers who want Forex for travel allowances, tuition, and medical bills, as well as other invisibles. Now, the development initiated just last year is set to nosedive as many Nigerians who depend on banks to meet their foreign exchange need may very soon face a hard time as the country continues to record depletion in its external reserves. Now, with the local currency on a slippery decline and likely to also weaken further amid dollar shortages, 600 naira per dollar could be the next key level of interest. However, despite the flaws in the operations of the BDCs, analysts are of the view that the CBN should not have thrown away the baby with the bath water, since the suspension of the dollar sales to the subsector has also erupted a whole lot of response and not necessarily stopped the hemorrhage. Joining me now virtually to discuss this and much more, I have the former president of the Chartered Institute of Bankers of Nigeria and professor of economics, Professor Segun Ajibola. Thank you very much for joining us on this show today, Prof. Well, thank you very much for joining us on the show today, Prof. Now, let's have your first analysis of the terrain so far since the ban of Forex sale to bureau de change operators and how well banks are holding down this segment of the market so far and the allocations been provided. How do you see things playing out?
As we all know, one of the most sensitive markets in any economy across the globe is the foreign exchange market. It is not the easiest of markets to manage. So a central bank has the onus, has the statutory responsibility to defend the currency, which is a symbol of the sovereignty of any country. The central bank has the responsibility to stabilize the exchange rate. And in doing this, central bank has to work with authorized dealers, commercial merchant banks, to achieve this purpose. Central bank also encourages the authorized dealers and other stakeholders in the foreign exchange market to encourage flow of foreign currency into the economy. And it does this a number of ways. First is to encourage remittances into the economy. It's also to encourage exporters in their various ways to ensure inflow of foreign currency into the country. But all this taken together, we still discover that we usually have some gaps, some shortages between the supply of foreign currency into the economy and the demand for foreign currency for so many purposes. Those that are into direct importation of goods and services, those that are in need of invisibles to handle so many things. So when you have this kind of situation on hand, then somebody must rise up as an authority to close the gap. And that is where the central bank again comes in, to inflow some foreign currency into the economy to take care of some basic requirements of Nigerians. Requirement for education, for health, for other invisible items. So that marks the background for the inflow of foreign currency into the system through banks. And when we look at the practice, we will discover that if this is not done, the stability in the foreign exchange rate that we are talking about will be threatened quite often. And that is where we usually have the gap. That's where we usually have this pressure on the official market and the observed gap between the official rate and the parallel market rate, which ordinarily should be more than 10%. But in our own environment, we are seeing 30-40% gap between the official and the parallel foreign exchange rates. It's not normal. So the central bank is doing this to ensure that it defends the value of the local currency and meets the needs and aspirations of Nigeria in the midst of the gap between the supply of foreign exchange into the market and the demand for it. This is the situation we often have on hand, and authorities must rise up to close that gap.
Professor Ajibola, now in terms of closing this gap now, let's look at one of the biggest realities we have on ground. There are reports that this allocation we have from the Central Bank of Nigeria to banks is not enough. Take, for example, the players within the aviation sector. They heavily lament the fact that the allocation does not necessarily meet the demand to ensure that we have key sectors of the economy are running. Do you think the CBN has the window to open up a little more the allocations that are given to banks?
My own position would be, as much as the central bank is struggling to meet these requirements, we should also encourage those who are stakeholders in foreign exchange generation, foreign exchange inflow into our economy. We know the sources of foreign exchange to central bank. We know the challenges we often go through. Lots of them that we need not repeat here for reason of time. But we know that at times there are what in economics we call supply rigidities. So we need to look at other sources that will make up these rigid supplies from central bank. The remittances, for example. We need a new architecture to encourage remittances, inflow of remittances into the environment. Our exporters, to what extent are we encouraged inflow of foreign exchange by exporters? Even when the transactions are consummated, to what extent are we encouraged activities of exporters who can also supplement whatever is coming from central bank into the economy? Even despite what central bank is doing, I think we still have pressure even on central bank. So there is no way central bank can meet all the requirements. So what we need to address as a country is what can we do to encourage more inflow from non-oil, from Nigerians who are working abroad through remittances. If we are putting all the pressure on central bank to say central bank must meet all the requirements, it may be difficult or it may take so long a time. And like I said, 80-90% of what central bank relies on to generate foreign exchange is all at times under severe global politics, like the global oil politics. Like at times, some of the disconnect that happen, like the confusion, the conflicts, the contradiction that do happen among oil producers and exporters. All these affect what comes to central bank. All this will ultimately affect what central bank can afford. So as central bank is trying to do this, let's also focus attention on those that can also help supplement whatever we are generating from foreign exchange into the market, to beef up the activities, to close all loopholes, to block all wastages and all leakages in our economy. Then we'll be a better nation in terms of our ability to meet foreign exchange requirements for that.
Okay, Prof. Now, there are no quick fixes to the current Forex scarcity we have on ground, because the reality remains that oil is a major source of foreign exchange earner, the biggest earners we have so far. So calling on exporters to also, or importers to also play bigger and then see how much we can have a bigger pool in terms of the foreign exchange earners is going to be a difficult short-term plan. But In the midst of all of this, let's look at the stance of the CBN as well. It says so far, since the discontinuation of the Forex sale to broad exchange operators, we are seeing the stabilization of the Naira within the importers and exporters window. Do you think that's a fact? And then for the second part too, we are having dwindling foreign reserves as well. How do you think the heightened pressure of Forex scarcity is going to be at the end of the day? Because we had issues with the BDCs when it came to liquidity and managing the pressure and the whole noise within the sector. Now we are facing this reality one more time, Forex scarcity. How do you see us going through all of this?
Like I said, so long is foreign exchange, it is a market that is so sensitive. It is a market that is so crucial because of our vulnerability to imports. To the outside world, we import virtually everything. So I don't know at what point, until we come back and address some structural imbalances in the local economy, I don't know at what point.
Professor Ajibola, some of the imbalances we have today also been affected is the fact that we have the ongoing Russia-Ukraine crisis as well. The whole Naira for dollar initiative from the Central Bank of Nigeria, that's also a little skewed at this point in time. So these are realities facing us. There is going to be an increased pressure when it comes to how well the CBN has enough to share across board.
We are saying the same thing. I don't know when a central bank will ever have enough if the structural situation remains the same. So we are just trying to place a background to where we are now, so that we can look at what are the short-term measures, what are the long-term measures. Short-term measures, for example, it doesn't take us anything as a country to see what we can do to encourage remittances inflows into the country. Export transactions take place on a daily basis, however minute. Then, in terms of the rule change operators, yes, the stoppage of allocation came suddenly. But by virtue of their license, rule change operators are also to mop up foreign exchange from small-time holders in the economy. So, which ordinarily should have been helping whatever allocation they were receiving from central bank. So there are other ways we can look into and look at to beef up the supply. What I'm saying in essence is the central bank as it is positioned, I don't know at any point in time it will be able to say that now I have more than enough foreign exchange to give out. Because if today you allocate X, tomorrow it will be X plus X% that will be required in the market. So the goalposts will continue to shift. So as demand is shifting, supply must shift. But when there are supply rigidities, there's limits to which, to the extent supply can shift. So that's why we need to address supply rigidity. If we don't address it, it will continue to be firefighting approach. We'll continue to look for remedial measures. That's all the point. So we need to look at short-time, long-term solutions to sourcing foreign exchange, attracting foreign exchange into the country, and to looking at the usage of the foreign exchange. There are so many markets. Export-import window is one. But like somebody said, when you want to gauge the pressure on the foreign of foreign currency in an economy, look at the gap between the official rate and the parallel market rate. So that is 30-40% in Nigeria, shows that there is so much pressure. So what do we do short and long term to address this pressure and put the economy in a better state? That's all I'm trying to say. There are measures we can implement today that doesn't even require slipping over. There are measures like correcting structural imbalances that will take months, that will take years. But we need to start from somewhere. But if we continue to lament that central bank is not rolling out enough without addressing why, then we still continue to have this lacuna.
Professor Ajibola, how do you see this Russia-Ukraine crisis also going to likely heighten the volatility we are seeing in the foreign exchange market, especially as the CBN still insists that it's putting its best foot forward to ensure that we have sanity and sanctity?
From the little that we know, first of Ukraine, second in Russia, and the significance of these two economies in global trade, there's no way it won't have effect. In fact, it won't have effect because the grains, the corn, the wheat, and so on, the steel products, and so on, many of them coming from these countries. When there is shortfall in supply, of course, it will raise international prices of these commodities. Many requirements for more foreign exchange to import even the same volume. So it's added pressure, not only to Nigeria, to the global economy. Definitely, it will pressurize the global economy because with the war, little, if at all, any attention will be paid to production in these two economies of Ukraine and Russia. That will affect global supply of the basic products and these two countries. So if the trade lines are closed, then we look elsewhere. And this simple law of demand and supply in economics, it will take effect. Prices, global prices will drop off for those key products coming from these two economies. Many requirement for more foreign exchange, many more pressure on the market. So these are the interplay of forces that we are talking about. And of course, some of them we don't have control over as Nigeria. So we need to come back home and position ourselves so that we will suffer minimum damage and minimum pains arising from global events that we have no control over. It's like COVID-19.
Thank you so much for your time on the show this afternoon, Professor Segun Ajibola. We've been speaking with Professor of Economics there, and we keep our fingers crossed really to see how the foreign exchange market is also going to react to all of the developments playing in the coming days as well, especially from the perspective of the global front. Thank you once again.